So I have to be honest, one of my biggest problems actually in life, if you can say that, in my personal kind of development, in my personal kind of finding balance, whatever you want to call it, is actually the fact that I'm really bad at self-care. This is my biggest and has always been my biggest problem. Finding the balance, having something to actually do, being at a walk, doing yoga, journaling, whatever. So for me it is and has always been key to find actually a way of properly doing that. This is actually such a pleasure to have had the ability to talk to someone who is really mastering it, not as a coach and not as a mentor or anything like that, but just kind of doing it for himself and finding the ways of doing it, perfecting it, that it actually suits him. And it was a super cool talk, and I think probably the talk that I could take out the most for myself personally. So yes, I hope you like it too. So this is Mental, another episode, this time in Baden with Tobias Gläser. It's super cool that you have willfully accepted to be on the podcast.
I did.
Yes, even though it's in English again, it's also for me a challenge all the time, especially because I'm quite aware when I mispronounce. Mm-hmm. But we forget about that. So it's super cool that we're actually here. We're in your office, in your Glaswerk, your agency, your sales and marketing agency. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. And before we start going to the mental stuff, can you share a little bit, where you're from, what you have done, where you are, and what you have built up?
Yes, I'm Tobias. I grew up in Baden, where I have my office. I achieved a degree in business communications, had some advanced training as a member of the board, in digital leadership, in brand management. And I started my career in a PR agency, and then I switched to the client side in several marketing positions. And when I was 28, I founded my own company, an advertising agency. And I would say some 6 or 7 years ago, I started the transformation from agency into a consulting firm. A very exciting, but also tiring and exhausting transformation process. And nowadays I have the consultancy for B2B businesses for marketing and sales strategy.
That sounds very cool, very interesting, and you have done a lot.
Yeah, I have.
With 28, what was the reason to start your own thing?
Probably one reason, I'm coming from an entrepreneurial family, so okay. Probably it's a little bit in the genes.
Yes.
And actually, I don't know, it was always clear that one day I would found my own company. And when I was working in a non-profit organization, had the possibility to start with my own business, so I took the chance and I started by myself.
That's actually quite cool. I think, especially with my Swedish colleagues, I have this thesis a little bit why and where, why do we actually start our own and why you don't. Mm-hmm. And in Switzerland, it's actually quite common that you don't start your own thing, right? That you join a big company, a big corporate, consulting, finance, something like that, and have your career there, which is kind of a safe, not anymore, obviously, but has been a quite safe bet. Mm-hmm. But the entrepreneurial part is not that ingrained in the Swiss gene, right? Yeah. So that's the reason why I asked, actually, when you started that
I think in my family, it was always like common sense that you don't have to be afraid to build your own business. No. And having still my job in the non-profit organization, there was no risk to take. No. And there is no investment like building up an advertising agency. Probably 10, 15 years ago, you had to invest a little bit more than nowadays. But there was no risk. No. There was nothing to lose.
No. Which is actually almost the case for everybody who wants to start something or no. If you're not kind of producing products and stuff. Yeah. But that's a really cool start. And then you went marketing agency and then consultancy.
Yeah.
And the reason for the switch?
I think the market has changed and my interest has changed as well. Like to create another campaign, to execute marketing communication measurements. I was tired of that, and I saw that the market was changing as well. So I wanted, actually it was like building a new company again. So I would say that's one of the reasons.
Okay, and that's Glasswork.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's still the same company, but actually it's another company.
Yeah. We've also, and you're doing also now sales advice.
Yes.
And that's where we actually met,
Yes.
right? So, so the for the listeners and watchers, viewers, we actually met. You invited me to your podcast, a sales podcast in Swiss German. Funny enough, and
it's much easier in Swiss German, I would say, and it's much easier for me to be the host than to be the guest.
Yeah, I can understand that it's probably a little bit more uncomfortable. But I mean, you're a podcast expert. You have been doing that for 5 years now.
I would say 4 years.
4 years,
we produced like 80 or more episodes. So
you're the professional.
I'm more used in Europe,
but I'm the newbie here. So, and I think this is the about the 10th episode I'm recording, but I haven't actually released more than 5 just now. But I'm building up, obviously. I'm getting there. Exactly. And the idea is to at least, I will be doing that at least for a year. So, but that's enough about the podcast. So, we kind of had a pre-discussion, and then we wanted to go into a little bit more the challenging part of actually building your own company and what because you have some special rituals, some special strategies to actually cope with that.
Yeah.
But, for me, it's interesting also to understand a little bit what was the indicator that you actually started with that. So when did you notice that you actually have to do a little bit more something proactively?
Yeah.
What were the kind of the triggers for that?
When I would say when I was growing up in school, everything was very easy for me. Everything came to me. Life came to me and everything was easy. Probably I was some kind of overachiever. And being an entrepreneur, for the first time, experienced some limits, like energetic limits, some pressure. And what I discovered as well is like the success of my company depends directly of my mood, of my energy level. So if I was in a good energetic place, when I was present, fully energized, the company went well. And that when I wasn't, the company didn't do so well.
Okay.
So I discovered this connection between me and the company. I was like the heart is a little bit pumping.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, and so I discovered some limits, and I discovered as well some kind of body-mind disconnect.
Okay.
I like thinking a lot.
Yes.
To make some acrobatics in thinking. And there were some times I forgot a little bit that there was a body as well.
Okay.
So I knew I had to take care of that a little bit more.
Yeah. But no burnout or
no burnout. No. But we talked about that.
Exactly.
I know how I know that there is always a way as an entrepreneur to a burnout. I went to the cliff and I felt like this moment now you have to take care and you don't want to fall down the cliff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, because I think for me, I actually didn't. I went far over before I actually noticed because there was so much in my head.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that's for me. That's also quite admirable that you actually had that connect with your kind of inner self.
Yeah.
That you noticed that okay, now I have to do something. And what was that? What you started with?
Probably I was always very aware of myself. I was always self-reflecting, but not systematically. So I'm sensitive. I feel myself, and I felt that I had to take care of that. Yeah.
And what was what did you start with? So that's also
a good question.
It's also this kind of it's a development, right?
Yeah.
Until you actually find what really works for you.
Probably I started with some kind of coaching, but it was more like focused on body health, and I started reading a lot. And I think a big change happened when I started sleeping more.
Okay.
I think I would start always there. Are you sleeping enough? Enough, because I think if you are acting as an entrepreneur and you do a lot of work and a lot of thinking, you have to be energized. And I think one element of energy is sleep. So are you sleeping enough? I think that was the first change. And then I started to advance and then
progress there.
Progress.
It's also funny, and I'm because of the talks that I'm having now. I have met with Raphael Tobler, and he was also really adamant about that, especially if he had a shitty day.
Yeah.
So if something went wrong, he said that he could actually then go to bed at 7, 8 o'clock.
I think sleeping is the best recharge.
I agree, but in such instances, for example, sleep is almost impossible for me.
Yeah.
So and that's kind of like something which in hindsight was clearly a warning sign, right? But I mean, I agree with the sleep is probably kind of the first thing to take care of.
Probably an alternative would be some kind of activity, like some kind of sports, swimming or running or walking in the nature. Probably that could help as well.
Yeah, exactly. The walking part helps.
That helps, like, to get out of your mind and get into the sauna and cold bathing.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
That helps, like some shocking moment for you.
Exactly. But the thing is, and that is, I think that is my kind of biggest problem. Now we're talking about about me. No, but the funny thing is that if I'm in this kind of stressful situation, I don't actually take the time for myself.
Yeah.
So I think, okay, now I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to think about that. And if I'm doing this, walking, going to sauna, that is not really kind of fulfilling what I should be. That I'm not meeting expectations, and then you just kind of that's a downwards spiral, right?
I think what's very important that all this kind of stuff has to be scheduled in your agenda. So it's like a meeting or a reunion. So you have to schedule it that it happens, and it's not negotiable. Like, it's not negotiable to sleep an hour. It's not negotiable to activity. It's like, it's priority. And what I discovered is very interesting at the moment. Like, I'm 44 now, and I thought about what changes the impact in a meeting on a workshop. And at the moment, it's not more preparation or not more reading or more like studying. It's more the energy level that changes everything in a workshop. So if I have the choice, read more or prepare more or go walking or go to a sauna or sleep, it's always sleep, sauna, walking more. So it's very rational, actually. It's not emotional.
No. Actually, it objectively clear, and even studies support that extremely. Yeah, but that's a little bit. That's a kind of a. I think that's also the challenge in terms of what you think that is expected or that you have to deliver, right? So kind of the external expectation and your kind of internal balance, and that is going into that kind of soul body. Work balance. I don't like work-life balance at all. That's for me.
It's just balance.
Yeah, exactly, balance. So, and you have been actively working with that, right? And also, sorry.
I wanted to add something.
Yes, sir.
What I had to do is rewrite what success means to me. And being successful doesn't mean to be rich, stressed, and to not have time. Being successful means to be free, to be light, to be grounded, to be healthy. So I think in Swiss culture, if you think about somebody who's successful, this person doesn't have time. This person is very busy, booked all the time. This person has a lot of money and doesn't have time to spend it. So what I think the first step is also rewrite, what does success mean to you? I think that changes a lot. Where to invest your time.
Yes, I agree. I think, but it's still kind of difficult if you're embedded in a in a group of friends or family or whether to kind of break out of that and not fulfill.
Perhaps you have to surround yourself with other people as well.
Yes, exactly. I think that's relating. Funny enough, I think. In all aspects, if you want to be more entrepreneurial in your thought or more creative, then you have to actually surround you always with the people that you want to kind of replicate in some sense, right?
And the one route of change for me is as well what kind of role model I want to be for younger people.
Mm.
Like, I want to be a role model as a leader, but a healthy leader, a sustainable leader. And so I have to change that other can change as well.
And you kind of take that role from your being because of your company.
Yeah,
Right?
I have younger people in my team.
Yes, yes.
So I want to like help them to become a good leader, a healthy leader that can follow a sustainable path and not a kind of leader that leads to burnout. So I take a lot of energy.
Yes,
of that.
It's so funny if I kind of when we talk about that how I'm so different, because for me, for example, I don't think I should lead. And I don't think I should be actually a role model at all. Just because my kind of own perception, I'm a little bit off, and so I don't see myself at all like that, which is funny. But I agree with the kind of the consequences of that. I'm fully on board with you. I mean, and it's a super healthy kind of mindset, and will help you also in that transformation to get there.
I would say so, yeah. And I think it's not one role is more valuable than the other.
No.
Of course, I think you have to find your role that fits you, where you feel comfortable, and where you can grow. Like,
yes,
yeah,
exactly. I mean, this is going to be really interesting. Yeah, because it's also kind of the fact that you said, okay, you just have to write it in your agenda. I hate agendas. And I understand that a lot of people have really kind of booked their agenda through.
Yeah.
But for me, it's that creates difficulties, because then I have the feeling that I'm kind of start getting kind of pressured, and it creates a tight feeling. That's okay. I have no room for actually moving, and I can't change things and stuff like that. So that makes me even anxious, to be honest. So that's the reason of not actually writing in, for example, the sauna on a regular basis. Yeah. That's super difficult.
Probably the jam is just the first step. I think it becomes more easy when it's like a routine. So I think the question is, how can I build a routine? So perhaps you have you take off one day, and then you do on that day what brings you joy and gives you energy. I think there are different ways to find to change your behavior. So that was my way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, we are kind of off the script already. Kind of like 5 minutes in, now we're a little bit more, but then. I mean, I always make a script, and then I have difficulties because I'm jumping to something which I think is actually really interesting. But it's so exactly. So we talked about the routines, right? Yeah. And you have developed a sophisticated one, which works extremely well for that. And how did you get to that? Because you probably didn't start with all of it right from the beginning.
No.
Kind of like how did you kind of get there?
The funny thing is, the routine helps you to build up more routines. Like if you establish one part, then you're able to establish another one. So I started with sleep. I started with getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And when I get up, the first thing is open a window, get some fresh air, feed the cat. And now I added a new one that's pretty new, that I start doing 20 minutes of yoga. That's a new routine, so I added that. Then I shower, prepare my stuff, then I walk into the office, like a 30 minutes walk, and then I do the journaling part. So I think you never get to a stage where you're finished and now that's the routine. I think routine has to change as well as you change. So when I feel, now I want to study a little more, I include more elements of studying. When I feel like I'm more distant to my body, or I don't feel myself, so I add a little bit more body kind of stuff, like activities and stuff like that. So I think it's very building up And it's amazing if you take like 90 or minutes a day or 2 hours a day for just self development.
Mm-hmm.
That brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah.
For me, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's not like a must or pressure.
No.
But perhaps it's too much for other people.
No, I think it sounds so natural, and it doesn't sound like that it's a huge effort either.
No,
right?
it's not. And I think that's the way to go. It has to be gentle. It has to be fun.
Mm.
And if it's not gentle and if it's not fun, it will not. You will not be successful.
So when are you going to sleep?
At 9.
At 9.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Obviously,
I'm tired already.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And I think it's so nice to start the day. Everybody's still sleeping, and you're by yourself. And my business day is so crowded with people and interaction, communications. So I enjoyed so much when I get up and still dark outside, and you walk in the office, and it's cold in winter time, and you have it seems like you have the world for yourself. And when you start business, you're ready. You're grounded. You know what it's about.
No, yes, yeah. I think the actual walk is probably the easiest one, and probably the one for me would now be the best.
Yeah.
But I'm working from home.
Yeah.
Which
you can do a walk.
I should.
Or you get a coffee somewhere.
I should, and my wife is doing that. But I have it's so difficult for me. It's insane. Okay, but I mean we're talking about the routine now. So 5 o'clock is the starting point. Yeah. And then the yoga part is have you always been doing yoga?
No, that's a new addition.
That's completely new.
Yeah. I started with some meditation, and I didn't feel it. It was when I was meditating, I got sleepy again. So I started with yoga, like
as a little bit more
physical. Yeah, I had to have something more physical, and it's like an 18 minutes yoga routine, and every day it's the same. So I don't change it at the moment.
No,
like because there is no need for change.
No.
With a YouTube video. So. And now I'm discovering, is it that what I want to? Does it fit into my routine? And I think so, it does. And if it doesn't, you change it again.
And the walk is in any weather?
Almost any weather. Not always.
Not all.
And sometimes it's okay not
to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you don't have to be too strict and too harsh. But I think you have to stick in some way to the routine, not to lose it.
And
sometimes when I come back, because in my holidays I don't do the routine, and when I come back, it's very important to get directly into the routine again.
Yeah, so getting back at it.
Yeah.
The journaling part. What are you journaling about? Because that's actually the funny thing is that is actually my latest addition or tryout. I was investigating a lot.
Yeah.
I was ordering a lot. I have done it 3 times.
Yeah.
And haven't since now 2 weeks.
Yes. Probably, I don't know. You can start journaling with just one question. And I think it's very important that you write it down. What's very interesting, by writing it down, it becomes very conscious what you're thinking of. So if you write it down, there's some clarity what you're thinking. If it's just thought in your head, they're confused and cloudy. And if you write it down, it becomes very clear. And what's very interesting then, like a year after, to go back, what were my thoughts then? How did I have, or what kind of change happened? Do you want to know my questions? Every morning?
Absolutely.
The first thing is like, it's some kind of unclutter your mind. It's what's on my mind. So that's always the start. Like, what's happening, what I'm thinking of, what's heavy at the moment, or what makes me happy, or just write down what's on your mind. The second thing is what I ask myself, what I'm grateful for. This question is very important, like to know what you're appreciative in life, and that you have to give, or that you should give more value and time. Then what makes my life wonderful? What brings me joy? What brings me happiness? What's important? Then what did I learn yesterday? So what kind of aha moment did I have?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of progress and thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Then, very important, I think one of the most important questions for me at least, what drains my energy or overstimulates me?
Okay.
What takes
Yeah,
energy?
exactly. Yeah.
And for me, often it is about people. So I started to avoid people that take my energy in a negative way.
Yes. Yes.
So I can say nowadays I just collaborate and share my life with people I like, where is good energy. Then another one, 5 achievements.
We have to go back.
Yeah, we can go back. 5 achievements in my life, and it can.
And that's it every day.
Every day. So it can be something small. Wow, I took off 1 month of work, or wow, I got a new client, or wow, I'm self-developing myself every day, or wow, I came back from holidays and I started with morning routine again. It can be small stuff. Then what will I improve? And how can I make today an amazing experience? There is more. Oh my God. I know, I'm overachiever. My affirmation, I repeat always my affirmation. So, do you want to know it?
Yeah, I mean, if you have to share, I mean, everybody's curious.
I think it's important to share that other can connect and have an idea. So, my affirmation is, I am healthy, I am free, I'm successful. So, I use nutrition, sleep, and activity as source of energy, and I enjoy life, and less is more. That's my affirmation. Yes. I repeat that every day. It's life-changing. And then my daily goals, what I want to achieve today, how I want to what I want to happen in a meeting, or what kind of activity I want to do today, or something like that. And then like a reflection about health. How do I feel today? How does my body feel? Stuff like that.
How long do you take for that?
I would say like 20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're fast.
And it's not some kind of... It's easy. It should be easy. Just write what's on your mind. There's nothing false or wrong. Just go. And I repeat sometimes.
Yes.
Actually, what I'm thankful for, almost every day it's the same. Or what makes my life wonderful, it's almost always the same. And that's some kind of... This repetition helps me to appreciate that stuff of more.
Yeah. Yes.
So I would, if you want to start journaling, start with one question. But you have to write it down. I think that makes a difference.
Yeah, I think so actually too. My kind of thoughts behind that is also that, especially in terms of appreciation.
Yeah.
I think you tend to overlook it.
Yeah.
I think my mindset, the way I work is a little bit weird, because I can't, if for example, when we talk sales, right?
Yeah.
If I have, signed a big contract, I'm not happy about it, or I can't really celebrate that. I have a moment of satisfaction, probably 2 weeks before, where I know I have it.
Yeah.
But then after the signature, then it's almost embarrassing if we celebrate, or if someone says, Pascal, and I hate that so much, because for me it's kind of like, okay, now that's it's behind me. We're looking forward. We need more. So I have, and that's exactly, so kind of like looking back, and so now taking it up again, you have actually done something which is good. And appreciate that for a little bit more than a second, and don't be embarrassed about it. But for me, that's really difficult. Not entirely sure why it is. I have some ideas, but I'm not entirely sure.
But I think that's what is very nice about journaling. I don't share my journals with anybody. That's my journey.
Mm.
So you can talk about that with your journal.
Mm.
Why can't I celebrate, or do I have to celebrate? Or like,
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
you can speak with
Have the
yourself.
conversation there.
Have the
Yes.
conversation,
Yeah,
some kind of
that's-
reflection.
Mm. Yes, yeah, exactly. But this is I mean, I think I really believe in that as well. I think that is extremely powerful as well,
Mhm.
and probably everybody should actually do some sort of it. Because I think it helps them with everything after that, right? With the taking time for yourself, and because you're writing it down, and then you see, shit, I haven't done that. I should be doing this, and kind of reminding yourself that you treat yourself.
Mm-hmm. I think it brings a lot of clarity, and you feel grounded. And more clarity I have to myself, to my life, more successful I am in business. More grounded I am, more like there is some kind of, what is I like more focus, more perception. I'm more present. And it's some kind of my business offer.
Yeah.
To be present, to have clarity. So it's for me, but it's also for my business.
Yes. I can see how that works. I'm sure that works really well. The Raphael Tobler, he does it slightly different. I'm not talking about it in almost every podcast now because I'm so super impressed with that as well. Because he's doing, I'm not entirely sure if it was a 5-year or 3 years plan, and then breaking it down and not hundreds of goals, 3 or 4 max in the different kind of aspects of life, then breaking it down to a year and then quarterly. And then he's reflecting on a weekly basis. On Sunday, he's taking an hour, taking down, and he's writing it down. And he has actually a coach behind it, who is an accountability coach, which is then sharing, and that can be business goals, but that can also be private goals. And then he's kind of like sharing that and reflecting. And that kind of puts everything he does in a so clear perspective. And makes things that he's probably annoyed of completely irrelevant when something is not working or going, So it doesn't matter that much. I have time, or then let's take a next kind of a different path to that, which I admire really. But again, for me, that's so.
Probably I do it a little bit different. For me, the bigger goal is, as the affirmation says, I'm healthy. I'm free. I'm successful. That's like the big vision. And once a year I go to New York and I create my vision board for next year.
In New York.
Yes.
Where?
With New York.
Where?
In New York's Times Square, like in the middle of New York. Because I don't know, I feel very vivid there.
Yes.
And I feel a lot of energy there. And there I write my vision board for 1 year. I don't do a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan. It's just 1 year. And nowadays I use the VOOP method.
Okay.
It's like wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan. I would recommend to read about that. So I don't make any bigger plans than that. It's just 1 year. And the bigger goal is, do I feel free? Am I healthy? And do I feel successful? So everybody does it differently. I think it has to be a fit. You have to find yourself in the system or in this construct.
Yes. And you probably can't start from zero and just go full. Probably there are people who actually are that kind of consequent in their behavior or kind of in adjusting things. But probably it's a more natural and healthy way is to kind of approach it, as you said, a little bit softer.
And I had a lot of coaches as well, and I switched them like every 2 years. I'm like a sponge, like I get a lot of knowledge, I can change habits and stuff like that, and then I feel now I have to have somebody new, perhaps with another expertise or something. At the moment, I don't have a coach.
No. No, but I think it makes sense as well to have that. Yeah, I mean that's so super. It's so interesting. I mean, I have a thousand of things in my head now, but exactly. So, and one of the things when we talked about it was also to be super clear that this is not something that works for everybody.
No.
That's something that is working for you, and that everybody has to take kind of like exactly just as we said that. But it's really important, right? That this is a personal thing, and this is a personal kind of preference and how your mind works and everything. So to make that. But one of the interesting things I thought, and trying to get back a little bit now to my script or our script, right? Exactly. So one of the things that resonated with me, and you said that as well in your journaling, is that energy drainers.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And the interesting thing was that I wasn't until my burnout. I think it was in 2018 or something like that. I was not really aware, kind of not. I mean, feeling it really. Who are the people or kind of the situations that drain my energy? Mm-hmm. But afterwards, I have been extremely, or let's put it, but not extremely, but my kind of sensors have become much more accurate and much more precise in actually realizing that. And how besides the fact that I mean it's not always people, right? It's also situations that can drain energy. So how did you kind of notice that? Was that for you kind of like, okay, did you and when did you start that? Sorry.
Something I discovered with a life design coach.
Okay.
That I have fluctuating energy. That sometimes I have a very peak of energy, and sometimes I have a very low energy level. So, being me, I need to design my workload and what I do, my tasks, following the energy level. Like if sometimes I have a high, then I'm great for keynotes, for speeches, for very complicated strategy workshops, for mediation, like difficult stuff. And sometimes I have very low energy. That's being me.
Yeah.
And then I go to the cinema or I go walking. So as an entrepreneur, I have this freedom to change my schedule. So sometimes I start the morning or my morning routine. I feel like I have no energy. I have no interest in doing that. So if possible, I change it. I think that's important that you match your tasks and your workload and your workflow to your energy flow. Does it make sense?
100%, 100%,
and I have to discover that. We are educated as an entrepreneur. You have to work hard all the time, and when and I was like that. I worked hard all the time, and sometimes I felt like it's so hard, like it's so much pressure. So when I started changing that, I was performing much better. Even though I went to the movies or I went to the sauna or stuff like that. I was more successful.
That's, I think that probably applies to everybody. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. But the interesting thing is that this kind of, I mean, everybody has this fluctuation and exactly having the capabilities.
I'm pretty extreming that.
Okay.
Like when I have very strong energy, I can light the fire in a room of 500 people. Like I can make magic. And sometimes I can't even light a fire, like a small one. So there are people that are more like that, like not such an extreme wave of energy. I have a very extreme wave of energy.
I think I'm similar in that context. Because I have always compared myself to a racing horse. Yeah. Or a 100-meter sprinter, right? Compared to a marathon sprinter or kind of a work field horse, right? Because I always had it's exactly the same way. I can be extremely intense and extremely present and have a lot of kind of energy. And then after that, I'm completely drained, and I really kind of I also need kind of quiet and my me time. I should need me time. I'm not always giving that. And then what I've actually done is I'm overriding that, or have been in the past overriding that actually by just one of the kind of methods we have been using is music. So if I'm super exhausted and kind of and I know now, but I have to go in a workshop, then I just put in some music that I just kind of like kicked in.
Yeah.
And then I could kind of how do you say, kind of get into that kind of level again. But then it's even worse afterwards. And I had this I had and that was also kind of like which kind of unfolded a little bit with the burnout that I had. I think every 2 year kind of crashes.
Yeah.
That could be lung pneumonia.
Yeah.
I had a severe back injury, which kind of, and then it takes me out for 2 months or something like that. And they were so repetitive, and there was, and suddenly when I kind of, in hindsight, I was looking at that, there is a pattern which I didn't see before. And then kind of like,
by journaling, you discover this kind of pattern.
Yes, exactly. That you probably would become much sooner transparent that this is happening. But it's also what I told you as well, and I think that now a year ago I was also kind of diagnosed with ADHD, which I struggle with a lot because now everybody has ADHD, right? Or the ADHS in Swiss German. But it's kind of like weird to kind of understand that you have that diagnosis and how you actually could deal with it. I'm not taking medication. Or let's put it that way, I'm normally not taking it because I think that it takes my creativity and my intensity probably as well, and my feeling for situations or persons in that context. So I'm trying to avoid that. But you need to have strategies. And that's the reason why I was going into that kind of journaling, kind of trying to balance me out a little bit. But I still have difficulties with that. But the energy, I think the energy part is almost in the middle of that for me now personally. And people who are draining energy, situations that drain energy. Do you, when you now have this kind of like in the company, this kind of draining energy, are you doing something about it or avoiding it, or kind of how do you deal with that, or the persons now, for example, especially if it's kind of even in a business relationship, that's a client, right?
I think it's a very strict criteria if we collaborate or not. Is there a cultural fit? If there is not, there is no business. Very easy because we have long-term clients. So if there is not a good vibe, a good energy, and also not a product market fit, there's no reason why to collaborate.
No.
And I think what I had to learn is I'm so much a leader. I always want to lead. I had to learn not to lead. Like there's a meeting or workshop, there's a young talent, let them lead or let the discussion go with the flow. And then just like take over when it's very important or it's kind of some kind of conflict. So I don't have to lead all the time and spend energy. That's something I'm still learning. I'm still learning like not to lead all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for me, it's situations, for example, kind of more internal kind of situations. So, and that's the reason why I have chosen to go into this mandate concept.
Yeah.
But it actually doesn't, you get into that anyway. I have unfortunately made the experience, but it's kind of discussions and things that are not improving or not helping where we should go.
Yeah.
If you have, so kind of like, and that kind of annoys me so much, and I think that it's such a kind of waste of my energy that I get so annoyed, and I've become extremely aware of that.
And I think it's almost impossible, like, to build a sustainable future if there is not a good energy.
Yeah. No, exactly. So what I'm trying to do is actually I'm trying not to involve me in these internal, sometimes quite political discussions. target discussions, I think it's completely useless for me in particular, because I think it, and also we had now a sales kickoff in Stockholm, and then we had the discussion about, I mean, I understand that you have to have financials and the planning and everything, and that you kind of have, you know, you need that, and that's important. But then they wanted to start, and they started to break it down onto detailed kind of like initiatives and, you know, channels and everything. And I was kind of like, okay, that doesn't make any sense for me.
Yeah.
And and they spent almost a full day in an Excel sheet on hypothetical channels and assumptions on assumptions, and then put values onto that. And that drives me almost crazy. And for once, I was actually quite good, because after that kind of kickoff, I booked in a morning session with sauna. So for once, I was actually kind of following that, because I was extremely aware that this is going to cost me a lot. And I didn't want to. If I take medicine, then I can get quite harsh. And it could be direct, and so I didn't take it. And I really had kind of to take it in full frontal, as you say. No, but this energy part, that's so for me. I feel that a lot now, or much more, and trying to balance that. So that's the reason why I kind of connected with that, and also from your journaling the most, actually.
I think to feel your energy level, to reflect on that, you need some kind of retreat, like take yourself out of your life. And how do I feel? I think it's very hard to feel the energy level when you're in the middle of your life and doing stuff and working, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
So early morning, that's the right time to do.
And then one time per year in New York.
Yes.
That's a kind of a carve out there. How did that come? Why? How did that come along?
I always felt like New York has my kind of pace. So every year I go to a big marketing convention in Boston, and it's
cool.
Close to New York. So I go first to New York and then to Boston. And then I started vision boarding there, and I felt like, wow, it's flowing. It's easier being there, being far away from my business, and being by myself. Yeah,
that's again something which we have in common. Yeah. I also get. I mean, the city itself gets my juices flowing immediately, and I have some other cities which are giving those vibes, not as much.
Yeah.
Stockholm for me is also quite a good. London I have always liked a lot as well. But New York is really, really special in that context. And for me, it's more also kind of like, I think it's kind of triggering me on different neurons. I get much more creative. I'm inspired in whatever the direction I go or look. It's kind of like, wow, okay, now. And then I feel, okay, now let's change, right?
Yes.
And then I'm getting back to Zurich, or I mean, for me, Zurich is almost too small.
Yeah.
I like it a lot, but it's almost a little bit too small, actually. So that, but New York is fantastic. Okay, well, cool. You know, the funny thing is that I was talking with my wife exactly about that. I need to have kind of this exactly the way you said it, right? I have to have this retreat.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that before Christmas, and I haven't had any ideas, and it's like, shit, I need to have kind of something that actually makes sense. And I was thinking about much more. Okay, let's do something photography wise or filming wise, that I'm combining something with that. But I think I have found.
You found your destination.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, because then you it's exactly the way you said it, right? That it's you're on your own, and you have the place and the space and the time, right?
And I think there's one difference. In New York, I don't feel like I have to apologize for being myself. I like being direct and very clear. Sometimes in Switzerland, it's not very the diplomatic way. So probably it's also that, like, it's raw, it's direct, it's clear, it's fast, and I like that. And I like being in Switzerland. I like Zurich. I like Switzerland. And I bring this kind of inspiration and pace to Switzerland that I find there. So it's some kind of vision boarding, recharging, clarity. Yeah.
And then daily journaling and self-care.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, duly noted. I have it now on tape. I have it on video. I just have to repeat it all the time, right? No, but I think there's so much good things in that, and even one single piece actually helps you to get going and improve.
Another funny thing is, like, nowadays I take 8 to 10 weeks off as holidays, and it's so funny. More I do that, more successful my company is. So I don't know if it's a good thing, but I like, more I recharge, more clear I am by myself, and I see the future more successfully I can consult.
Yes, that's actually one of the things that I have worked for. I not only have worked now, I'm working now for a Swedish company, but I have worked for quite some time for a Danish company. And I think the mindset of, we were talking a little bit the work-life balance, but I mean, just kind of like that you have a life that is not just consisting of work, but actually a lot of private life, and that clarity in that you have to take that time. I have embraced actually, I think, quite a lot. And one important part of that is summer holiday, for example. So for me, I'm always 4 weeks in Sweden, at least 4 to 5 weeks in Sweden.
Are you working there, or
I might be working? I might be working a couple of days, but I will be certainly having 3 weeks off during that part.
Because when I'm off or away, I'm completely off. I don't work, like, not a second.
No.
But I'm very on or off.
Yes,
there are several.
Yeah, exactly. No, but for me, it's our second home base that we have. Yeah. So it's a little bit slightly
it's a little bit different. Yeah.
But it's also, we are close to the sea. We have a super cool forest, protected forest just before our house, or a little bit down, and then the sea with beach and everything. And that's also one of my energy places, especially when the weather is extremely nasty and really, it's blowing a lot of wind and it's raining vertically. That's kind of the best moment where I really kind of feel
nature.
Yeah, exactly, and the elements, right? Because it's then it's a completely different vibe.
I think it's sometimes, as humans, we forget that we are like humans. And I think, like, being in touch with nature brings us back that we are human.
Yes,
like in the digital world and working with mobile and laptop and stuff like that.
Yes.
Sometimes you forget that.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's also, I talked with two now before for this podcast about the fact that how much do you think you have control?
Yeah.
We always have this kind of, we are so in control of our daily life, but we're actually not.
Yeah.
And kind of noticing that from time to time is actually quite healthy in that context, right? Yeah. So, and that is one of that you see, okay, there's so much wind, you can actually, although the sea is so rough, and kind of feel that power, it's quite cool. I like it. That's the other kind of part for me to reload my batteries, actually. Yeah. Now we have been talking a lot about the whole energy and habits and all that. But one of the things is, and that we're getting now to a common project, right? Which we I have the honor to participate in your project. Actually, it's that's not a cool. Yeah, exactly. So that's we were also talking about that now, and that's also why you're participating in that. That you believe in the community and the sharing, which is an important part, right? And, first of all, and we're also, and that's also part of the podcast that you actually have started with Ralph Müller.
Yeah.
So talk about what you kind of have done there, and what it's all about, and then we can jump into.
Yeah. So Rolf is my friend and content director, and we founded Glasslar, there was a Swiss marketing and sales podcast 4 years ago, more or less, in a bus. And then we went to a studio. Now we produce it digitally. And we had a lot of guests. And it's so amazing how much you can learn by having guests who share their knowledge, their insights, their tactics and stuff like that. And so we thought, like, after 4 seasons, we should produce a book powered by AI, as original content powered by AI, and share the best insights. I think what's very different is it's not just general information; it's your experience, it's Melanie's tips, it's Christina's insights. So you connect knowledge, like real knowledge from people. I think that's very cool.
Yes, and that's the book. It's not a 1st of April joke.
Yeah.
It's actually reality.
Yeah.
So this is coming out on the 1st of April, and it's snackable.
Yeah, the book is called Snackable. I discovered that I like learning by snacks. I don't have to read a whole book. Sometimes it's nice to have just like takeaways or a summary, because I think one sentence can change your way of thinking. Like one sentence can change everything. So it doesn't have to be a whole book. So Snackable is like the best of all the episodes and the best of takeaways from real people.
Yeah, I think, and I really relate to that, what you said. I think it's I know even our talk kind of what you could, there are things what you said that I reacted to. And this is exactly the same, right? So actually having that and share, because it triggers new thoughts, new ideas, new concepts, whatever.
Yeah.
Which is really, really, really cool.
I think it's like a phrase that I learned in the advanced training as a digital leader. Sharing is caring. So you cannot share enough. And I think it's in the human DNA. We like sharing. We like seeing other people grow. So that's like that's in the heart of the podcast, sharing knowledge.
Which is really cool. I mean, I really like it a lot. And I had the honor to talk about business development, which is also a topic in itself. But it's, that's the interesting part of the whole experience now with you guys is I had this kind of, after my burnout, I wanted to do, I always had this also kind of entrepreneurial kind of, not mindset necessarily, but I always had this kind of dreams. I should have been doing this or that, and I had an idea, and I've never done it.
Yeah.
And at that time I had an idea, and then after the burnout I said, okay, now you're completely free.
Yeah.
You're free to do whatever. Nobody, I mean, you can say, okay, I was a little bit crazy. What the fuck, right? so actually what I did was I started to get a clothing company going. It was more kind of a personal online assistant, per shopping assistant that helps men actually create a cool wardrobe. And my timing was the worst because I actually really kind of launched it at the beginning of Corona, But I mean, I learned a lot. And the funny thing, and now I'm coming to the point, long story, but to the point. The interesting thing that I learned in that process, I was initiating the company here in Zurich, but all the kind of the brands that I was collaborating and the style and everything came from Sweden.
Yeah.
And I was reaching out to Swiss companies, clothing companies or shops to collaborate because I think exactly like sharing is caring, that we grow together.
Yeah.
Nobody reacted, or if they know there might be competition, they were not even sure if it's competition, but it might be. So no. Sweden, everybody collaborated.
Yeah.
And we found, and I have now, he's a friend of mine. He was kind of like supporting me, helping me get in touch with producers, with clothing brands, really helping a lot. He didn't want anything in return for that at all. We have been meeting kind of several times over a period of a year. He kind of spent probably 4 or 5 days at least just kind of working or supporting me. And that was quite astonishing, and that's why. And I have the feeling that this is in Switzerland. It's still not because maybe it's because everybody's so busy and they're kind of like. Now I'm saying self-involved. I don't mean it in a mean way, but they're kind of like they're because it's probably more things from the outside that drives them, but they can't actually really lift their head above the whole thing, right? So they're not really sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why I really love that idea and that concept. And because what you're actually doing is you're giving us a platform, right?
Of course. I think sometimes we have to stop thinking just about ourselves. So another example, some days ago, I had a keynote at the Day of Foundation for Startups. That's not my target market. But I thought, like, if I was them or just like founding my own company, I would like to have some experience of somebody who has 15 years of experience. So I had my keynote there and also said, like, you're not my target market. I'm just here to share. I give everything I have. And then I go. I will not be your mentor, and I will not, because I don't have the capacity for that. But I'm here, I share, and I leave. And I think, if you share, you always get something back, even if there's a good feedback or somebody gets successful. So.
Yes, I think so as well. I have always been part of this kind of startup networks, and as I was a mentor, but not. I didn't spend that much time, but I mean, I was always kind of like happy to actually do that. Also share my insights, how to, and especially in the sales or business development context. And I think it's important to do so.
Very important. Yeah.
Yes, now I have to actually check my my questions because we are about to close our what interesting did I say? So we kind of what are the key messages you want to let the listeners, and then the more important things, where can people follow you? But so for you and now we kind of back to the mental part. What is kind of, if someone is struggling a little bit now, and then where would you now, with all the knowledge and what you have, what would be the first thing? I think you already said it actually.
Probably I start with baby steps. Don't try to be another person like tomorrow. Like, it takes time, and it's okay that it takes time. So take some baby steps. Start with sleeping. Take a glass of water in the morning. Don't use social media the first hour you wake up. So get into the day. What else? And find a routine that matches you. It shouldn't be pressured. It should be gentle. Yes, I would say that's the way to do it.
To sleep.
Sleep. I think sleep is the best kind of recharge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And exactly, where can people follow you?
Yeah, very easy on LinkedIn. Probably. On LinkedIn, you can follow my podcast, Glass Klar, on Spotify and every podcast platform. I would say these two channels are the main channels.
That's the main channels, exactly. And then obviously Snackable.
Snackable, yes.
1st of April coming out in German.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe there is a translation needed at some point of time.
AI will help. AI will help a lot. Yeah.
So Tobias, thank you very much for your time. I think that for me it was really, really insightful. I like it a lot. I will take out some things and try to push myself a little bit more to do more. As I said, this energy. But I mean exactly that energy thing, right? What you said. I think that for me, this one kind of question.
We are no machines. We are human beings with floating energy.
Exactly. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we are at the beach, at the sea, here in Sweden at the west coast, which is one of my energy places that I really kind of feel alive. But I wanted to talk about the podcast with Tobias. So I think talking about energy was probably kind of the first real kind of resonating point that he addressed and talked about in the podcast, which for me really hit the spot. I think you can see my reaction here that we start talking about it as well. So kind of being aware what actually costs you energy, that might be people, there might be situations, that I think was super important, and I wasn't aware before my burnout. So that was kind of really hitting the spot. And then kind of all the other kind of things following about, you know, you can do the journaling, you can do the manifestations, you can do the yoga or the walks. And I think essentially, as we talked about it quite a lot, is that you need to find yourself the way, what actually gives you the most out of it. You know, it's what do you enjoy the most? And but I you know, the whole kind of aspect, the way how he's doing it, soft, but you know, not too soft. He's kind of trying to stick to it, but he's soft in approach. Is so crucial to the whole thing. So for me, this was probably kind of for me personally, probably the most interesting podcast so far. I think I learned a lot and I can actually apply the most out of it. I haven't though, to be honest. It's a couple of weeks later and I have, you know, it's always as it is. You get super busy and I'm particularly bad, as I said in the beginning. But nevertheless, super podcast in my opinion. I think I'm getting better as well at the technical stuff. You tell me, but I really liked it a lot and it was really giving me a lot of energy, especially even listening to it the second and third time through my editing process, which is really cool, I think. So hope you like it too, and see you in the next one.